To other news now in the courts, where state witness Zandile Khumalo has been answering questions about the night Senzo Meyiwa was shot. Our reporter Manqoba Mchunu has been in court in Pretoria, and we cross to him now. Manqoba, good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us. This time around, of course, Zandile Khumalo had to appear in court. We heard the judge being very firm that he's not going to stand for any delays. What was her state of mind, her health? How was her demeanor this afternoon?
Well, good afternoon, Cindy. In fact, cross-examination continuing here at the Pretoria High Court. You recall, Cindy, that yesterday proceedings were cut short due to the fact that Zandile Khumalo had indicated that she was not feeling well. We did see that cross-examination continuing today. And of course, Zandile Khumalo was on the stand giving testimony about what had happened on the night that Senzo Meyiwa was killed. She's the first state witness to be called here in this new trial that, of course, saw this trial begin afresh as far as proceedings are concerned. So we did hear from the lawyers representing accused number 1 and 2, Sipura Mosipile, posing questions about what happened when Senzo Meyiwa was killed, painstakingly going through some of the details, the actions of those that were inside the house and what exactly they did on that night. And one of the issues that came out was around Zandile Khumalo's sobriety at the time of the incident when the 2 intruders had come into the house. There were questions raised as to how many cans of alcohol she had drunk on that night, and she had indicated that she had in fact drank 3 cans of cider on that night. And of course the lawyers were asking that, on a scale of 10, how intoxicated was she at that particular moment, to which she responded that she was not really that intoxicated. In fact, she stood her ground saying that she was not drunk at all on that particular night. But another crucial issue that was raised during cross-examination was the issue around suspect number 2. You recall, Sidi, that yesterday Zandile Khumalo pointed to Ntanzi, who was the second suspect in this particular matter, as one of the intruders that was in the house when Senzo Meyiwa was shot and killed. And there were questions raised, of course, by the defense as to how exactly can she tell after so many years that it was in fact Ntanzi that was inside that house. And she responded saying that she was quite adamant that he was one of the 2 intruders, saying that she can see by his height, she can see by his facial features that in fact he was one of those that was inside the house. The state, of course, or the defense rather, of course, not quite buying it. They posed questions as to, the environment at the time, whether there was enough light in the house, and how after so many years she can actually tell that it was him. But I want us to take a listen to that interaction and how it unfolded in court.
You say you were busy, and I accept it was busy, it was hectic in that situation. For how long did you observe the facial characteristics of both accused and in particular, both suspects, and in particular the second suspect? How long did you take in that busyness to observe the facial features of the second suspect?
Kubona ke lokho uthi kwakubhizi ke khona lapho ke ukuthi ke wathatha isikhathi esingakanani ke ukuthi ubabheke ubabone ebusweni ke ukuthi banama features athile noma ma features wapi ebusweni bona bobabili ukuthi kwakuthatha isikhathi esingakanani lokho.
Okokuqala ekitchen ilambu lase kitchen li bright kakhulu.
Firstly, the kitchen light is very bright.
Ubona ngisho impukane idlula.
You can even see a fly passing.
Lena ususpect number 2 ngambona kahle futhi ngalesi sikhathi mengiqala ngithatha icrash ngimbheka ngambona okokuqala mayise passage ngase ngizomshaya ngecrash ngangizama ukumshaya ebusweni.
And I saw the suspect number 2, and I looked at him. I first saw him in the passage, and when I took the crutch, I wanted to hit him in the face.
Now, and bear with me, your best educated guess in terms of time, was it a minute, was it seconds, when you looked into his face as you state?
Uma nje ungaqagela ke sikhuluma lana ngomzuzu sikhuluma ke ngama second uma ungathi nje umbhekile ebusweni.
Ngambona kahle. Into engayibhekanga nje ukuthi isikhathi mhlambe ngabuka u10 minutes ufa cha. Angibhekanga konke lokho kodwa ukumbona yena ngambona kahle.
I looked at him well and I saw him well and I can still recall or remember him, but the only thing that I didn't look at was the time as to how long I looked at him.
Now, Manqoba, if you take us back, and I mean, there has been obviously a lapse of memory. This case has been going on for almost a decade now, but there's an interview that Zandile Khumalo had conducted here on the channel on ENCA last year that was mentioned as part of the evidence. What happened in court regarding this particular line of questioning?
Well, this was an interview that she did last year with my colleague Zandile Khumalo, where she had a sit-down basically describing how the family had felt about this court case. And in that interview, on one of the questions that was posed to her at the time, she had made reference to the fact that she could not recognize the accused because half of the time they had been wearing masks. And this is a question that was posed by the defense as to how then now is she able to identify these suspects if she says that they were wearing masks and that she could not see them for most of the time. And I think her response was quite clear that she was referring to the proceedings that were happening in court when these suspects were arrested back in 2020. In fact, it was during the time of COVID when these suspects had appeared. And when she saw them in court, she could not make out their facial features. She could not tell whether there were any of the suspects that she claims were in the house on that particular day. But there were a lot of questions also, Cindy, regarding the fact that there were numerous statements that she had given to police throughout the years from 2014 to 2018. And none of those statements that she had given, she had actually made mention of identifying any of the suspects. And the defense asking her why she had failed to mention this on numerous occasions. Take a listen to that part.
In all the statements, if I remind you, and we can go back to that, you've never ever, to the police from the 27th of October 2017 until the 18th, when you made your last statement, you made 3 statements to the police. You've never ever given them the facial features of the person that you say was the second suspect.
Kuzo zonke ke istatement ke owazenza kuze 2017 kwaze yoba yi18 ke la wenza khona ke istatement sakho sokugcina ke awukaze unikeze ngawona ama features,
the facial features.
Okay, lama features la obusoke la owachazile kuzo zonke istatement zakho awuwachazanga.
Okokuqala istatement njengoba sengishilo istatement sokuqala esasenza yebo umuntu wayengaphansi kokuthuka nakho konke lokho, but esesibili i-additional statement kwakuyimbuzo uphendula umbuzo. So if lo mbuzo awufikanga kumina bengeza ukuphendula.
Firstly, the first statement was when one was still shocked or under shock, and the second statement or the additional statement then, it was a question would be posed, and then I would then answer. If that question then never reached me, or that question was never posed to me, then I would not get to that.
Now, Manqoba, just before we let you go, we saw with Judge Rata Motlhwageng that he's not taking any nonsense. He's not going to stall. He wants the proceedings to go ahead in the interest of justice for the Meyiwa family, and also so that they can save the time of the courts as well. Proceedings continuing tomorrow for the rest of the week at least, and from then on, I suppose, it will just be until it's concluded.
Certainly, Cindy, we're expecting a cross-examination to continue tomorrow, and we know that the lawyer representing accused 1 and 2 has concluded his evidence. So we're expecting the lawyer representing Thobisi Mncube, who is accused number 3, to continue with cross-examination. It was, out early today, and the reason for this is because Charles Mnisi had actually requested that he begins his cross-examination fresh tomorrow with the witness. So we are certainly expecting it to continue tomorrow, Cindy, as expected.
All right, Manqoba, much appreciated indeed for that update, and we'll be following that one very closely. We still stay with the courts now.